So yeah, today we're talking about Little Miss Sunshine. What year was it made? Little Miss Sunshine, 2006, I believe. And yeah, I really liked it, and I'm going to talk a little bit about it. So first of all, the directors are Jonathan Dayton and Valerie Ferris. I believe they are a couple. The only other notable movie that I really recognized from them was called Battle of the Sexes with Steve Carell and Emma Stone, like a tennis movie. Didn't know too much about it, but I remember it was at TIFF one year. But yeah, they directed it, and it was written by Michael Arndt. And he also had some writing credits on things like Toy Story 3, Star Wars 7, Force Awakens, Oblivion, that one sci-fi Tom Cruise movie that I've seen like 3 times for some reason, and Hunger Games Catching Fire. But I believe this was one of his very first feature-length, or at least big-budget movies, writing this. And what a debut, because he won an Oscar for Best Original Screenplay for this film. Yeah, this film, despite it being kind of like a family rom-com, it did well at like awards. It was at Sundance, as you can see in the trailer and everything. It was nominated for Best Picture. It was nominated for Best Actress in a Supporting Role for Abigail Breslin, who was the young kid in there who played Olive. She was like, what, 10, 8 or 10? And she was nominated for an Oscar? That's crazy. And then it won, like I said, Original Screenplay and Best Supporting Actor for Alan Arkin for playing the grandpa, which I don't know. I don't even know his name. He was just grandpa. But yeah, critically, very well acclaimed. And the reason I chose this is because I have a guy at work, and he's like, Little Miss Sunshine is just like the happiest movie, and he's like considering it as his favorite movie of all time. I've heard so many people say, oh, just such a happy movie. And yeah, it really was. Before we get into the exact story and everything else, it had a budget of $8 million, and its worldwide gross was like $101 million, which is like crazy. That's great for such like a small budget in terms of cinema. But yeah, that's crazy. And it's all because it premiered at the Sundance Festival in 2006. And then Fox Searchlight bought the rights to it and then like distributed it and everything. And then it got awards and people knew about it. And yeah, so yeah, so this film is kind of it's a little deceiving. Whereas it's purposely deceiving because it is kind of marketed as this, family comedy. Maybe you would expect it to be a little more family friendly because it is called Little Miss Sunshine. The poster's very colorful. It's about a quirky, silly family, but it is rated R, which I wasn't expecting. I didn't actually know that when I started watching it, and I was like, wow, this is there's a lot of profanity, bit of drug use, and yeah, it's rated R, and I think that's a really great thing for the movie. It helps some of the themes really get through, and like it makes the emotional moments way more emotional because some of those serious things can be portrayed as way more serious because of that R rating. All right, so yeah, it's a family movie. It's a road trip movie, and I think I don't know what to say about it. So a short synopsis is young Olive, played by Abigail Breslin, is going to be in a beauty pageant because by not a fluke, but the one who won that was going to go to the next round had some issues. They say, like, I forget if it was dietary or something. They said in the trailer diet pills, something about diet pills and something, which just starts the whole narrative of those beauty pageants being just absolutely disgusting. But and then yeah, they have to have a road trip to California from Arizona to get to this beauty pageant with their whole family, who kind of doesn't want to do it but rally around this cause to get them. And there are many bumps in the road to try to get there. So yeah, that's a little short synopsis without spoiling anything. I'll get into some of the characters now. And then, yeah, so at this point, mainly spoilers going forward. So if you haven't seen it, yeah, I would say go watch it because it's definitely worth watching and not really knowing what is going on here. So the main character is probably Olive, played by Abigail Breslin, Little Miss Sunshine herself. I guess not literally Little Miss Sunshine, but to the family, she is Little Miss Sunshine. And yeah, she was nominated for an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress, which is crazy because of how young she was. But great for her because honestly, child actors is always a thing where it's like, okay, you never expect them to be that good. But it wasn't like a typical child actor is good and competent and holds up and they're cute and everything. But like she had some like in that one scene that was in the trailer when she's talking with Alan Arkin about asking, oh, if she's pretty or anything, like she kills that scene. She's great in that scene. And then she I think this is a perfect role for a child actor because the child actor is supposed to be somebody who is their self the entire movie. That's the whole message of the thing. You have to be yourself rather than what other people want you to be. And I mean, I guess children are very good at being themselves. And yeah, just like the carefreeness of her dancing at the beauty pageant at the end was amazing to see. It feels like the whole family was way more stressed out about her going on stage than her. She was prepared to do whatever dance and really believed that it was a great dance and that everyone was going to love it. And she perfectly embodied that. Because I really expected her to have some doubts. Like, she had the doubts in that one scene about the ice cream and everything. But, yeah, she killed the role. Next, we'll talk about, I would say she's the main character. Everybody rallies around her. Then, after that, it's kind of hard to determine who the other main characters are. It's all just, they're all very, very important to the story, and pretty much they're all even Olive, but I just put her first because she's the titular role, figuratively. Okay, next I want to talk about Frank, played by good old Steve Carell, and I love Steve Carell, not just because of The Office. He's just I don't know, he's just absolutely hilarious. I love him in Bruce Almighty. I have not seen Evan Almighty, but Bruce Almighty is great. And then, what else was he in? He was in Anchorman as well, legendary. But I think this was one of his roles. It was 2006, and he was fairly unknown at this point. And he plays a suicidal uncle, and he was a scholar. He was a scholar, and he had an affair with one of his students. But then that one student got with another scholar who was supposed to be the second best behind him. But then he still never won back the affection of his true love, the young, I forget his name. But yeah, he had some of the greatest scenes. And at the very beginning of the movie, it seems like it's going to be like a more lighthearted, like intro to a sitcom, a family sitcom, which that intro scene is amazing, just like showing off everybody's personalities and everything. But I think it's highlighted by, one, its R rating, and two, Steve Carell, who really brings home the, so they introduce that he's suicidal and the mom has to go get him and bring him home. And then you have scenes where it's like, oh, you don't want to leave him in a room by himself. He has to sleep with somebody else in the room, get rid of all the sharp objects and everything. And that's just like, okay, that's quite a big turn from the happy, fun family intro that they had. And so he starts with that, and then you see him like looking out of a window with like tears in his face, and he has like bandages on his wrists after he tried to cut himself. And so it brings that severity right away. But throughout the movie you can see him just like bond with the entire family, and there's just so many moments where he just starts to smile random, like, because he's in this like family atmosphere. Like when they started pushing the bus for the first time, he gets in the car, and I think he was the one who's most vocal. It was like, oh wow, we did that together. And it's just like, oh, it was so sweet to see. He was great in this movie. And then the scene near the end with him and Paul Dano was so memorable. I loved that scene a lot. Overall, he was great in this movie. Steve Carell in this movie, like, he looked great too. I just had to throw that out there because, like, man, his beard was on point. Young Steve Carell, who would have thought? Okay, moving on. We have Paul Dano, who plays Dwayne, which is funny that I watched this now because he's just all over the world with his portrayal of the Riddler in the Batman, the 2022 Batman. And he was great as well. He was great. I saw a video earlier because I was just watching a video on it. Somebody compared him to the guy from the Lorax, like the emo guy from the Lorax, and that was hilarious. But Paul Dano plays a guy named Dwayne who is sworn to not speak until he makes it into the Air Force or some sort of flight academy. And he was at the beginning. You can see he's the outcast. He's the teenager. He's bringing the angst, and he cranks up the angst notch to 11. He only writes on paper to everybody. He has the classic "I hate everyone," showing that to Frank, Steve Carell. And yeah, along with he's in two of the most memorable scenes. It's him and Steve Carell bonding, and then it's him finally realizing that he can't go to flight school because he is colorblind. And then he run outs to the side of the road, forces them to pull over, and just swears the first word out of his mouth, drops an F-bomb, breaks down. And yeah, that was an absolutely amazing scene. Those are probably the two scenes that I remember the most in the entire movie that kind of impacted me the most, probably. Because, yeah, I mean, Paul Dano is just like a master at, he feels so natural. He like brings so much originality to each character. I was talking about this about the Batman as well, right? Because it's just, I love the scenes where he's in the cell and you literally don't know what he's going to do. And you have him screaming, "Oh, this isn't how I thought it was going to go," and things like that. And then in this movie, you have him just absolutely losing his mind when he realizes he can't go into flight school. When he figured out he was colorblind, and then who was it who said it to him? Yeah, it was Steve Carell. He's like, "You can't go to flight school if you're colorblind." He looked like he was about to throw up. Like he was like holding it in until he could. He's like really badly needed to pee, but just like insane. And then he needed to go outside and let it all out. He was like fidgeting everywhere, hitting everything. But yeah, Paul Dano, all-time legendary Paul Dano performance. I guess this one is a little more lighthearted movie, but he's devolved into some more serious movies where he brings his more edge to. I don't know. He plays a certain character and he plays it very well. Toni Collette, the queen of dysfunctional families. She plays Cheryl, the mother who is just stressed out nonstop. In the opening montage, you have her smoking a cigarette and she's on the phone with her husband Richard, and you don't hear Richard on the phone, but you can tell exactly what he's saying. He's like, "Oh, are you smoking again?" And yeah, that establishes two things: that one, that Richard is a stickler, and two is, yeah, Cheryl is just stressed out of her mind because her family is absolutely crazy. I'm going to talk about this a bit later, but it seems like everybody had a goal in the movie and they failed it. Her goal, unfortunately, seemed to be a little less clear than everybody else's, in my opinion. It seemed like her whole thing was just kind of like she's stressed out of the whole time because of her family unit, and that just brings her so much stress. And she doesn't really have any external force that she's striving towards like everybody else's, which is a little sad to see because she's like, besides Olive, yeah, she's the only woman in the family, and it's just, yeah, her whole personality was based in the family, it seemed like. But overall, Toni Collette, she always gives a great performance. And yeah, she played her role well. I think one of the least, because her character was less definitive than the others, I think she was a little less memorable, but she had to be there still. She was great in the role. And then we'll move on to Craig Kinnear, who played Richard, the father. And he was so infuriatingly, like, just misguided and passionate about his 9 steps to be a winner. I think it was 9 steps to be a winner. This, like, self-help genre book that I have no interest in reading in my entire life. But, yeah, he sees the world in a very, I don't know what the word is, not mathematical, or maybe scientific manner, where it's success is really just a recipe that you have to brew, and it's not about luck. You know, you really make your own fate. And he's so infuriatingly stuck up in those first few scenes, where I remember the first time the phone starts to ring, and it's like the Little Miss Sunshine beauty pageant, and he's like, he tells Toni Collette, no, just don't answer, just pretend like it's not there. You see him in the opening montage, and he has, what, I'm trying to count exact, 1, 2, 3, there's like 7 people in that room, 8 people in that room when he's giving his presentation. And yeah, he doesn't care about anybody. He doesn't care about anybody else's values. He doesn't care about losers, which their entire. It reminds me of the scene in Guardians of the Galaxy. That line in Guardians of the Galaxy is literally just the tagline for this movie. You know what I see here? I see a bunch of losers. Like a bunch of people who have lost things. Where it's like, it's not exactly that. Well, I guess in the end of the movie, it is exactly that. But it's just trying to hone in on the fact that being a loser isn't bad. And it's just kind of playing off the idea that this idea of a loser is just stupid and trying to take the power out of that word. Because losing builds personality. And it's just saying, if you're trying to do what you got to do, things that make you happy, then, hey, it's fine to lose as long as you tried. And, yeah, it's a universal message that's in so many things, but this movie just, it works so well because of the world that they built with all these characters. Who was I just talking about? I was just talking about Richard. Moving on to Alan Arkin, who won an Oscar for his role as the grandpa. And it's such a grandpa role. Like, it is a little stereotypical. The bad grandpa, the guy who's the old man who doesn't care about the world anymore. But it works so well in this movie. Alan Arkin is so charming. You got to have the right actor for it. And Alan Arkin was a great choice for this role. Yeah, like I said with Steve Carell, the R rating in the very opening montage, along with him, you have Alan Arkin snorting some cocaine or something in the very opening montage when it feels so much like a family fun, happy intro. Yeah, what can I say about Alan Arkin's character? He didn't care. He tells Paul Dano to bang a bunch of chicks while he's young. He's super profane and inappropriate. He's teaching Olive a bunch of inappropriate dance moves and everything. He's getting a bunch of porn from the local convenience store behind his family's back, only telling Steve Carell. What was his whole thing at the beginning? His whole thing was, oh, we're having chicken again? Oh, man. I don't know what his goal was, really. I guess he's kind of the one outlier where it's like he's the one who has the values that everybody kind of succumbs to in the end. Whereas do what you love, and apparently he loved doing drugs and looking at women, and I guess he died doing that. But he's the carefree model that everybody in the movie kind of rallies around in the end. So yeah, he was great. That's the core family unit that matters in this movie. But other than that, I just wanted to mention that Bryan Cranston was in the movie as Stan Grossman. They literally made his last name Grossman. And he plays the business associate that Richard is trying to get help sell his book. And he says that, he tried to pitch it, he pushed for it, but nobody wanted it, really. And he's just, the uptight businessman, gave Richard the hard truth that he needed. And, there's not much to say. It's just Bryan Cranston doing his thing. And it's funny to see him. And then there was another guy from Breaking Bad. I forget his name. I haven't seen Breaking Bad, but I knew that the cop was in Breaking Bad as well. I forget his name exactly. But, those are the main characters in the movie. And I think the first thing I wanted to talk about of this movie is it's a road trip movie. And I'm trying to think of other road trip movies that I really like. It's like you hear the genre road trip movie and you know you've seen it before. You've seen episodes of TV where it's like a road trip. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but it's like, why do road trip movies work so much? And why does it work here? And I think when I'm thinking about this movie, it's like it's taking them out of their normal daily routine of being at their homes. And I guess that's what the nature of vacations are. It's literally taking characters out of their comfort zones. They have no room to run back to isolate themselves. It's not a familiar situation. And I think the recipe for a road trip movie is that it's forcing these people who have existing conflict with each other to be with each other the whole time, and in the end finally accept everybody for their flaws or whoever they are. And it works so well with this movie because everybody has such contradicting character traits that literally at the beginning of the movie, the scene at the table just shows, this is the most chaotic, dysfunctional family of all time. And I think that going on a vacation, you don't have a routine. You have to be with those people. It's like You're going on a vacation to be with those people. Anytime I've ever gone with a family vacation, it's like I'm mainly hanging out with them the whole time, and it's a time when you can be with them. And yeah, that's just doubling down on what I'm saying about forcing them to be with each other. And also with road trip movies, it's like the nature of having the car as like a symbolic family unit, and the writing of the road trip aspect of this movie, where the clutch breaks, they have to push the car, literally work together. It's just like it's like it seems like such an obvious thing, and it's an obvious metaphor to get around, but it just is so impactful because the energy in those scenes where it's like they're all running to push the car, and then you can see they're all out of breath when they get in the car, and they're all smiling like, oh, they banded together to actually do something and get that done. And like in the trailer, they had the scene where they forgot Olive at the what is it, the mechanic shop or the gas station or the convenience store. I think it was the convenience store. And I love that shot because you have the shot, the tripod or the camera is at the convenience store. You see them come in, and they literally, without stopping, grab her by the arm and bring her into the van. And then there's a few people in the background that linger at the end of the shot, and I just love their looks. It's like, did they just kidnap that little girl? Because it's something absurd to see, and it's so great. But yeah, road trip movies, man. They're literally a journey. I think there's a lot of parallels with road trips where there's a clear goal, a clear destination, and I mean that's the way a lot of writing works, right? It's literally a metaphor for trying to get one place to another, having a goal, and having roadblocks. You literally use the word roadblocks when you write. I just said roadblocks. You literally use road blocks, not Roblox, to as a word when you're writing for your characters. Oh boy. Okay. I said Roblox. This. Moving on. And yeah, I think also on the topic of this, it's like when people go on trips, it's like people go on trips either to one, enjoy themselves, or two, to find themselves. Or it was like, oh, everything is just stressing me out so much, I just need to let loose and like rediscover. It's like I feel like there's a genre of, maybe not a genre, but you've seen movies like Eat, Pray, Love. I've never seen it. I just know what it's about, and that just seems like the definitive, oh, go out and find yourself movie, where it's like you go somewhere foreign to you and you try to figure out things. And that kind of feels like this movie, kind of unintentionally, because they all didn't really want to go on the road trip. They're all just trying to get Olive to that beauty pageant. But yeah, it felt like that in the end. You have the moments where, yeah, again, the Steve Carell and Paul Dano moment. I keep going back to that. That is literally the definitive, actually, probably one of the most thought-provoking conversations in the whole thing. What does he say in that? He says, the best times in your life are the ones where you're suffering, because that is what gives you the most character. Maybe not most character, but it lets you figure out who you were. And yeah, that was a great speech given by Steve Carell. And yeah, that scene alone made the movie so good. Okay. I already talked about how the R rating makes it work. I guess I talked about in the beginning, right? The R rating makes it work so well because you have the seriousness mixed with the snorting the cocaine and the suicidal Steve Carell. But yeah, I think the hard-hitting moments like the death of the grandpa, right? I think that's the clear moment why this R rating works so well with this movie, because the whole thing about the movie is it's about winning and losing, and how that dichotomy is kind of just stupid. And it's also just about happiness and sadness kind of paralleling the winning and losing. And so in this moment where it's literally, yeah, it's sad when somebody passes away. And you have, the grandpa dying in the middle of the road trip while they're in a hotel. And the movie is trying to say that in these moments when there is so much sadness going on, you can define those moments yourself. and they kind of rally around the grandpa rather than just completely break down. The line where it's like, oh, this is what grandpa would have wanted, and that's just it's such a feel good moment that comes with that seriousness, and that could have been done with a less serious topic. Maybe it could have, but it works so well with this movie, and I'm so happy that it's R-rated. This is why we need more R-rated movies. Not because of the normal reason where everybody's like, oh, we want so much more gore and swearing in superhero movies, but it's just, there's so much more to explore when you can have more of these serious topics, right? And that's why I'm very happy that this movie was rated R. So yeah, I was just talking about like the winners versus losers dichotomy here, and I think that, along with being yourself, I guess it kind of all just merges into this basic principle of, you have Richard preaching this, you have to be a winner instead of a loser, the winning mindset, right? Which everybody probably have seen. This movie was made well before so much social media was going on. And I'm sure everybody has seen, if you've been on the internet, things where it's like people preaching this self-help things like rise and grind, wake up at 6 a.m., only eat this meal. I plan every meal of the day and everything. And it was ahead of its time, where it's like, yeah, you have this guy preaching these self-help books on how to be a winner, and that a winner's mentality and a loser's mentality are what define people. There are two types of people in this world, winners and losers. And yeah, the whole movie, he's kind of the antagonist, right? He's trying to preach this to everybody. He's saying, yes, you, Paul Dano, you're either going to be a winner or a loser by getting to flight school. You have this one goal. He's making everybody very goal-oriented and setting themselves up for failure. Not setting them up for failure, but he's setting it up so that if they fail, they're going to be absolutely crushed. And that's kind of like what he's teaching his family at the beginning of the movie. Yeah, and in the end, he finally learns to kind of let go of that, and that losing is not as bad as it seems. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank here, but yeah, it's kind of like it's such a powerful message, and it works so well with this movie because of the self-help book and him being like the antagonist. Because it's so true that the best things, or maybe not the best things, just like I've had so many moments where it's like, I'm so glad that I actually just stuck through with this, and that I went through with this and did it. It doesn't matter about how other people think of it. One summer, I said to myself that I was going to go to a different park every day and document it on an Instagram account, and I did for the entire summer for 4 months straight, and it was just one of the most fun summers that I've had, because it was great. I was getting outside every day. It was a lot of fun, and just that's exactly like why I'm doing these Cineclub things, because it's like, it is difficult to put yourself out there sometimes, and then just actually doing it's fulfilling, and it's just, I don't care that too many people are watching it. It's getting me to watch a movie every week and kind of just think about it a bit more, and it's a lot of fun. And I just want to say that the message of the movie, it rings so true with each character in this movie. They kind of fail at their goal. So you have Paul Dano, who wanted to go to flight school, but he can't in the end because he's colorblind. You had Olive, who wanted to win this pageant, but she didn't. She lost it. She's literally a loser. You had the dad, Richard, who wanted to publish this book, but didn't because nobody wanted to buy it. You had, this is one thing where it's like the mother, does she really have a goal? I don't know. I'm not too sure. And then you had Steve Carell, who wanted to be a well-respected professor and get with the love of his life, but he didn't in the end. But they rallied around Little Miss Sunshine, Olive, and they learned from her that, she was just having a good time at the beauty pageant, and they all joined in, and to one of the greatest dance scenes at the end of the movie. I always say this, one truth about film is that the best way to end a movie is with a dance scene. A couple highlights. You have this movie, incredible dance scene. The movie Boy, one of my favorite movies of all time by Taika Waititi, has a great dance scene at the end. Empire Records had that dance scene at the end, which was phenomenal. But yeah, I used to help out with a summer camp filmmaking, and that's the message I told to all the kids, that dance scenes at the very end of movies are the best way to end a movie. But yeah, just that ending scene was just so good. I was cringing very hard, but like in a great way, where it's like, it sets up this beauty pageant, and I love the reaction shots of Richard, of the dad, where he's in the audience and he sees all the other girls competing and he looks at them like, this is weird, and which it is super creepy and weird. I forget. I wanted to cite this, but there was a video I watched and they pointed out that like the beauty pageant is literally sexualizing young girls, and everybody is like, okay, they're fine with that. They're doing these performances, and then when Olive goes on stage and literally does more sexual dances, dressed like the least sexual out of all of them, and they're appalled by just her dances, which is just so weird. And dude, that guy, the host, is just so creepy. It's like, and why is he singing? Isn't this supposed to be about the little girls? And then he's like singing a song to them, the America song. And it was such an uncomfortable situation. And even though them going up and dancing was super cringy, it's like, you're not rooting for anybody in the audience or the just beauty pageant in general. So that kind of relieves some of the cringiness. But it's the climax of the family finally letting loose and doing what they love and being happy together, and it's great. It's so good. And then I love that guy at the end who stands up, like the more biker looking guy, and he stands up, and in my mind he didn't say anything, he just went like, woo, yeah. In my mind it was just like, he's thinking to himself, wow, this is the best beauty pageant I've ever gone to. All these years of taking my daughter to these pageants, it's all worth it now. But yeah, it is it's a great ending to a wonderful movie, and I feel like that's all I have to say about it. Short and sweet. I gave it a 8 out of 10 on Letterboxd, but again, like I always say, it's just a score. It doesn't really matter. I like talking about it way more, and it's a score can't dictate your feeling about a movie. And this movie makes me feel very happy, as I know it does for a lot of people. I looked up on a lot of reviews, and the overwhelming comments on Letterboxd, like, reading through them is so weird, because it's like, sometimes I'm reading through Letterboxd reviews, and I'm like, I think to myself, I'm getting nothing from reading these. Like, the serious ones are taking themselves too seriously, and the jokey ones are too memey. But after I'm done it, the culmination of reading all of them, I'm like, okay, I like doing that. It's weird. It's like, as a whole, Letterboxd reviews are fun to read, but individually, it's like, I'm not enjoying myself. But there are some golden ones in there. There always is. But what was I going to say? The overwhelming comments on Letterboxd were like, Paul Dano is boyfriend material. And what was the other one? I had it in my head, but I completely forgot. Dang. Oh yeah, it's like, this movie makes me feel so happy and so depressed at the same time. Those were the overwhelming comments. So yeah, Letterboxd never change. But yeah, if you've seen Little Miss Sunshine, let me know what you thought. If you haven't, go watch it right now, even though I just talked about it this whole time. But yeah, it was a great movie, and I'm very, very happy that I chose it. Next week, which is, let me check. So it's April 4th today, so next week is the 11th. Next week, April 11th, I have a couple choices, but this is a movie I've been wanting to watch for a very, very long time. And I think I'm going to choose next week and force myself to watch it. From Oscar-winning filmmaker Bong Joon-ho. we are going to be watching the 2003 movie Memories of Murder. For the last year, this has been at the top of my watch list, and for some reason I never got around to watching it, but I am beyond excited to watch this movie. I love crime dramas, and I've heard this is a masterpiece. Parasite is a literal masterpiece, and I cannot wait to watch this movie. So this is going to be next week. Memories of Murder by Bong Joon-ho. Top-rated movie, 198. I don't think it got too much international awards and stuff. These seems mostly be Asian. But yeah, I am very, very excited. This was the dad from Parasite here. He's in this movie as well. But yeah, Memories of Murder next week on the 11th of April, 7 o'clock, here at the Film Spot.